Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I'm also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to go over how to heal dismissive avoidant attachment, some tips on how to do it, okay? If you are dismissive avoidant, but this can also help if you're the partner of dismissive avoidant because you can look at these things and start seeing, is this what's showing up in my partner? Because from my perspective, I work with a lot of avoidant individuals, but I also used to be avoidant. And so this comes from both sides of the experience, myself and also my patients. And a lot of this is very specific and it really does help. It can help with some fearful avoidance as well, but fearful avoidance need both sides. They need the anxious and the dismissive. This one is just particularly the dismissive side. So either dismissive avoidant or fearful trying to heal the dismissive side, okay? So the very first one, which is probably the most important, and I'm going to be honest, it was very hard for me, and it's still hard to this day, and it is just very hard for most people who are avoidant. Willing to compromise. At least a little. You have to learn to compromise a little bit. If you are not learning how to compromise, it's going to be very, very challenging to heal this attachment issue. You want to also understand and be patient with yourself, but you got to be willing to try to be a little bit more compromising. It means that even if you planned your night where no one's going to bother you, you don't want any text messages, you don't want any phone calls, you're just making your dinner or whatever, then you're going to watch TV, then you're going to do a little bit of work prep before you go to bed. That was your ideal plan. And then maybe your partner calls you and says, I have a flat tire. I don't have any coverage on my insurance for this. I can't afford it. Can you please come pick me up? Something like that. That probably really was not what you planned. Now, a lot of avoidant individuals, you're going to say, you might make an excuse. Hey, I can't, or I'm busy, or I don't want to. Maybe you're going to be really blunt. I don't want to. And you feel really guilty about it, but there's something about you that's just like, I don't want to give up my space. Why'd you call me? Right? But it's really important just to try, understand and try. Maybe tell yourself, remind yourself. I remember I had to do stuff like this. It doesn't mean that the whole night is ruined. You can still have a good night. Maybe you can, even if this is not what you're going to do, you might even say you can stay up 30 more minutes and then sleep in 30 more minutes. Or it's okay if you miss 30 minutes of your sleep just to give yourself a little bit more decompression time. And you might not even do that, but just telling yourself that makes it a little bit easier to know I'm not being suffocated. Nothing is being taken away from me. Sometimes what used to help me is, okay, but tomorrow I can just do this, so it's okay. Like, you have to remind yourself, I'm not being suffocated. My space is not being compromised. I'm not being taken of. I'm going to go do this and do it maybe as quick as I can. You can even tell your partner, like, okay, fine, I'll drop you off home, but I'm only going to do what I can. I can't stay. Like, try to compromise in the middle, but give yourself time to be yourself, but try it a little bit, just a little bit, lean in, right? Everybody's different. You guys start at a different time, pace, whatever it is, but you guys know where you struggle, okay? The next one is reflect on times where you said something you didn't mean while you were deactivating. This one's really, really important. It's hard. It's hard and it's embarrassing, honestly, because you don't realize how much you do it. An example could be, I don't get attached, right? But now you see that you are attached. So admit to yourself. You don't have to broadcast it, right? You don't have to tell everybody, hey, everybody, I'm attached to this person. I was wrong. I was, incorrect. I'm a failure. Don't broadcast all your fears. You don't have to say that. Just say in your mind, just recognize, oh, okay, I said I don't get attached, but I actually do get attached. So I guess I was wrong. That's all. You don't need to embed it in your brain. Don't force yourself. Just that's it, right? Think about any of those times. Every now and again, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all human. We're all human, okay? Everybody's got one of these things. Even people who aren't avoidant, they say things like that all the time, right? Human. You're a human, okay? The next one is understand your triggers instead of guarding them. You want to understand them, not block them, okay? Just being more aware of them is all I mean. Just be a little bit aware this is a trigger and be more comfortable with using those types of terminology so that people understand you. Hey, this is something I don't like. Please don't do it. Or I'm still working on that. That's not my cup of tea. Let's talk about something else, right? So very common triggers. Most of these are triggers that I had when I was an avoidant. My dad is still an avoidant. And so, and he's quite a bit older than I am. And he's not even close to healing. I don't think he's ever going to heal. He's like the king of avoidance. Sorry. But he has all of these as well. A lot of my patients have a lot of these. My partner's avoidant as well, or he used to be. He has some of these. And so it's really important to recognize these are pretty common. So I'm going to give you some examples, okay? Unsolicited advice. Oh my gosh, that is something that still to this day, like, y'all, I can't. And I'm trying, but I don't like it. It's very annoying. It's just, I don't like it. A lot of avoidants don't like it because they don't like being told what to do. And so that's the next one. Being told what to do in general, right? It's just, leave it. Leave it alone. Don't tell me what to do. That's how it feels like. Slowly, if you get more comfortable, you start trusting them or you start compromising. But understanding that these are your triggers. I don't like being told what to do. So it's not you. It's just my thing, right? So you allow them to recognize, hey, I'm not mad at you. Just don't say that again and don't do that again. I just don't like being told what to do. It's my thing, right? So you can understand your triggers instead of guard them, because what you do is if you don't understand them, you start blocking people out who do this. You start cutting them off or you start distancing yourself, and then they don't know what's going on. And unfortunately, what starts happening is they try to chase you, and that just annoys you even more, and you're not getting what you want. I'm telling you truthfully, just try to understand your own triggers and communicate a little bit. They will be less likely to chase you because you're afraid that if you say it, they're going to use it against you, or they're going to complain or yell at you or whatever it is, or they're going to try and change you. If a person's like that, give them a chance, but eventually if they continue to do that, they're probably not the person for you. But if they actually are understanding, now you know they're not going to do what is bothering you, and so you don't have to keep avoiding it. It wastes a lot of your time, and you don't want to do that. So understand this. The next one is being talked down to. That one is so disrespected. To this day, I cannot stand this, and I'm pretty much healed, and I don't like this one at all. I do not like being disrespected, and a lot of avoidants do not like this, okay? The next type, common trigger, being pressured to do something, being nagged, right? That is just, it's very frustrating to a lot of avoidant individuals. So mention that. If you get angry, if you start getting really frustrated, tell them, hey, this is my thing. Let's try and make sure we don't do that again. The next one is someone saying something emotionally instead of calmly. This can be very, very triggering for a lot of avoidant individuals. The next one, and by the way, this part might be a little triggering for you if you're not dismissive avoidant, so you might want to click off or skip like 2 minutes ahead, because I'm about to say something that's kind of triggering, okay? The next one is a lot of dismissive avoidants get really annoyed and angry and frustrated when somebody is crying for something that you think is no reason. You don't think it makes sense. Like, why are you crying? It doesn't make any sense. This is a trigger of yours. And it's really hard to think of it as a trigger because it doesn't feel like you're like feeling triggered, but it can be, because usually what happens is after this, you need a lot of space to decompress. Your head is kind of clouded. You're not really sure what happened, and it comes from your past. And so if you're starting to realize this is something that bothers you, take a moment to tell them that, hey, I understand that you're crying. I'm not good at crying. So you might want to take this to somebody else, or I need some space from this. I'm not really sure. I don't see a reason. I'm not saying there's no reason, but this is not something I would cry for. So I'm having a little bit of trouble knowing what to do. If you could tell me what I need to do, that might help. So try and meet those things in the middle. Understand this is something that bothers you. The next one of a trigger, and these are just the common ones, is somebody demanding something from you where you think they're overextending or they're expecting a lot. This one's also a trigger. So just knowing your triggers is very helpful, okay? Now we're going to talk about the next step to healing dismissive avoidant attachment in general. It's respect that your perspective is not the only valid perspective. This one can be hard because you don't realize you're doing this, but a lot of dismissive avoidants, actually, they believe that their perspective is the only valid one because they're not emotional, they're logical, they worked really hard on this perspective, they sacrifice so much for their perspective, they're not supposed to look at other people's perspective because that means that they're needy or they're too much. But challenge those thoughts a little bit. Even though you might not realize you have them, but it's usually why it's hard for you to compromise or hear other people out. We just gave that crying example. Understand that just because you wouldn't cry doesn't mean that another person won't. And neither is better than the other or right or wrong. They're equal in their own perspective. That's very important. Got to understand different perspectives. To be honest, I was mentioning that my dad, he's dismissive avoidant still, and he really struggles with all of these. His entire life was completely guided by being a dismissive avoidant, truly. Like, he's been single for many, many years, almost 20 years. No hookups, nothing. He was married before my mom, but he left that marriage like instantly. He was always close to me, but he never opened up to anybody. He left to a different state. He's in a southern state, more southern than I am, southern state. And he's by himself. There's no family. And it's fine. Now he just works all the time. He loves that. But one thing that he struggled with was communicating and compromising in general. And the one thing that I've noticed progress with him is this one. He actually told me this when I was struggling. He said, you have to understand, and he said this was challenging for him, but he said, you have to understand that your perspective is not the only perspective. Understand so that you don't get angry, that you don't start wanting to fight people. You don't want to block people off. You don't want to cut people off. You have to realize their perspective is valid. and my perspective is valid. And this was something that really helped him, and it helped me too. And if you're an avoidant, this might help you as well. Understand that you can't, like, people might be very adamant or stubborn or whatever about their perspective, and they might not want to see your perspective. Don't let that hinder you. Just for your own sake, for your own mental health, let them have a different perspective. Even if they're trying to change your perspective, let them have theirs, you have yours, and accept it as is. It's not going to work. You can't fight that. You have to just be yourself and understand also they can be their self, and maybe even hear them out. You don't even have to listen fully, but you might talk in a more calm, approachable way. You might say, yeah, I think that makes sense. Maybe I would cry too if I was in your place. Even if you don't fully understand, allow yourself to lean in just a little bit more. It's going to be really uncomfortable at first, but it does work, okay? The next one is focus on socializing with people close to you slowly. If you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, lean in. Allow them to be part of your world slowly, okay? I have always struggled with this one, but I've gotten a lot better. But even recently, this is something that bothered me. I'm sharing a personal story now. My cousin, she and I used to be close when we were younger. She had a baby, or she's going to have a baby. And she messaged me and she was like, I'm really excited. I hope that you can get to meet her. And because I'm usually the one that is like very distant from people, I don't stay at social events very long. It's the way I am, but often I'm also like not good at getting close to people emotionally. And was very gentle about it. And I know that she's a person that I should learn to get even closer to. And she mentioned like I tried to be open. I said, I know I'm still distant and I'm trying to work on it. And she said, I notice, she's always been good with this, but she said, like, I notice how much you're improving and like it shows up. And like, I'm really hopeful and I'm excited that you can, meet my daughter when she's here. And that was something that I know is like something I have to actively put effort in. I want to get close to people that are close to me because there's a part of me that knows somewhere that maybe I don't, or it feels like I don't need this as much as the other person needs me. And that might be true to some extent, but it's also the fact that it'll help me to get out of my shell. It'll help me to learn new things. And sometimes you just have to challenge yourself. Sometimes you got to be a new person. You got to just make yourself do something. You got to grow. That's how I look at it anyways. And so even though it's hard for me, she wants me to be there and I'm going to be there and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make her feel good and have that connection. And then when I can leave that event or whatever it is. That's how I look at it. So always try to focus on socializing with people close to you, but be slow about it and allow people in your life to understand you, right? It would be a lot harder if she was pushing me and saying, you have to do this, you're so difficult. She didn't say that. She just said, I would really like this. And she's like, you're showing up and I appreciate that. That made me feel like, okay, I really like this person. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And actually, that prompted me to open up to her a little bit more about other things. And that really helped, okay? But anyways, that's a bit of a sidetrack, but focus on socializing, okay, if you're trying to heal. The next one is give yourself downtime and tell people in your life that you need time to decompress. Give yourself that built-in downtime. In general, don't compromise this. Not entirely, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to push people away so you can get this. You're going to fight for this time. Always have that built-in downtime, whether it's the weekends, whether it's after work, whether it's whatever it is, have that time for yourself so that you can decompress and be alone, right? Just for the moment. The next one is expect people to meet your needs and ask for it to be met. Hey, I need space tonight. I had a really rough day at work. Just, you can still text me, but just know that I might not be answering as prompt because I'm a little bit preoccupied with myself, right? Just give them that. The next one is give people more than one chance. Every now and then. Just try it. I know it's hard, but give them a second chance. Just see what they do with it. Communicate what you need and give them a second chance. Every now and again, try it and see who these people are, because there are some people that they made a mistake. Give them another chance. And then you might see who really is someone worth giving trust and who is going to break your trust. Don't walk away the second somebody breaks your trust, because sometimes people just don't know. Give it a shot. I know it's hard. The next one is admit to yourself and maybe other people, depending on how comfortable you are, that you're happy with human connection. Just admit to yourself that you actually like that connection. I really liked seeing, just mention something to yourself. I really liked going on that date with my boyfriend. Say something like that. I really liked hanging out with my best friend today. I enjoyed seeing my mom. Whatever it is, just say whatever it is and start allowing yourself to remember, so that next time you feel a little bit like you don't want to do this, or you feel you're in your rigid type of feeling, just remind yourself, you know what, you probably will be happier, feel better after you do it, right? Kind of like exercising. I personally love exercising, but some people don't. They got to make themselves do it, but they feel better after they do it. That's kind of what it feels like. Give it a shot though. Every now and again, no pressure, right? The next one is tell your partner you appreciate them. If you have a boyfriend who's been there for you and you know you're a little bit difficult, tell him, I appreciate you. You have a girlfriend that has always asked you to change, but she gave up on that, but she's still here. Tell her, you know what? I really appreciate you. I'm working on it. Tell them you appreciate them. And the very last one, I think it's the most important one, is you got to be patient with yourself, right? What is the core of dismissive avoidant attachment? A lot of us want to believe I have myself. Who's a person I've always had? Myself. And so if that's really, really true, don't you think you owe it to yourself to be patient? Please try that, okay? I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.